Welcome into the EHL Premier Awards. My name is Jeff Mills alongside Lauren Smith. We got the EHL Awards done last week, Lauren, and now it's time to move on to our EHL Premier Boys. So, shall we?
Oh, I'm excited about this one. We've got some good names in here.
Some very good names, right?
Oh, yeah. And so we'll start off with MVP. This is one everybody's been waiting for. Pretty obvious choice if you look at all the stats from this season. Philip Parker from the Walpole Express. He's been one big player that you've been wanting to watch all season. He has 2 points per game, I believe, something like that. Like, absolutely ridiculous stat line. And he had one of the highlights of the season, especially if you ask our broadcaster friend Tyler Orrego. Philip Parker was shooting the stuff at the All-Star game, which was a lot of fun. And he got called up to the EHL for a game this season too. So his big stats definitely paid off for him this season, giving him a trip up to the Express E team.
Yeah, without a doubt. And moving on to forward, someone that very similar, Lauren, to our EHL awards, Colin Bella, Colin Callanan. If Phil Parker didn't exist, then maybe this guy from the Boston Junior Rangers, Mike Bichette, who wins Forward of the Year, who's a promising 03 prospect. He was called up to the EHL team to play for Coach DiCaprio for a little bit. Another guy that put a lot of pucks in the back of the net, racked up a lot of points, and someone that you may see on the EHL team next year, right? If he was on the EHL team for a little bit this year, needed a little more seasoning down at the Premier, showed that he can play down there, and you'll probably be seeing him head up to the big squad up at Breakaway Ice Center next year. So Mike Bichette, your Forward of the Year.
Absolutely. And all his hard work earned him a trip to the P All-Star game as well. Who's a fun one to watch. Yeah. And speaking of some other P All-Stars, we have the Defenseman of the Year, Mr. Aiden Parker, twin of Philip Parker from the Walpole Express. And one of the highlights for them this season was definitely the P All-Star game, and it was quite a fun time for them. They had a little bit of a number switch, so Aiden was wearing Phil's 18 and Phil was wearing Aiden's 7, so that was kind of fun to watch. I know for Tyler Orrego, who regularly calls some of their games, I'm sure that was a little confusing for him at first, but it was a good little laugh that we all had with them. And he actually got called up to the Express EHL team 3 times this season, one of which was for Thanksgiving, which was a lot of fun. Those turkey jerseys were really great, so shout out to Justin Squitieri for those. Those were awesome.
Gobble.
A fun one to see, and the guys definitely got a good kick out of those.
Aiden, a heck of a Zamboni driver too. We'll just leave it at that. Heck of a Zamboni driver. Aiden, well done with those skills. Moving on to our Goaltender of the Year, someone that you might know, Lauren, Cam Wickens of the Railers Hockey Club. An 04 on a team that's trying to get back to the finals, right? They were there last year. They're trying to revenge that championship loss to the New Jersey 87s. Dangerous team with Cam Wickens in the net, and I think they're going to be poised for another long run, but we'll see. But Cam Wickens gets your Goaltender of the Year honors.
And following that, we have our Coach of the Year, which is Mr. Brett Heigl from the Valley Junior Warriors, narrowly beating out Mr. Mike Richard from the Seahawks Hockey Club and Seth Gustin from the Vermont Lumberjacks. Special little shout out to Mr. Seth Gustin for giving our very own Anthony DiPaolo a ride to the P All-Star game. We really need him on that broadcast. That was a fun time. And Brett Heigl and Mike Richard were actually the coaches that coached the winning Gray All-Star team. No big deal, me and Jeff. That was a fun time to be there for. And
pretty good at the All-Star
Heigl actually turned the program around in 2 seasons. The Warriors have an important matchup with the Lumberjacks coming up for playoffs, so that'll be a fun one to watch. And moving on to some of our top prospects at forward, this one has definitely been a big name we've talked about a lot this season. Johnny Lee from the Philadelphia Little Flyers. He's a hometown kid from Aston, PA. He basically grew up in the Little Flyers organization, which is always cool to see. And he was dubbed Johnny Dangerous Lee by our very own Anthony DiPaolo. And he's a big reason why that team is the #1 seed in the South.
And then we're going to go to our top prospect, that is, on defense, Lauren. That's Chris Merriman from the Boston Junior Rangers. And this is an interesting nugget that we've heard from some sources that he's referred to as the next Mitchell Haight. Mitch Haight was the guy that played for Coach DiCaprio for a couple of seasons, a really sturdy defenseman. And they're saying that, Mitch Haight was a captain, so Merriman could potentially become a captain and maybe follow his footsteps into the collegiate ranks, where Mitch Haight is playing at Elmira College. So we'll see. Chris Merriman, those are some big shoes to fill, literally and figuratively speaking. And finishing out with our top prospect at goaltender, Lauren, we're going with Logan Givens from the Connecticut Chiefs. He was the goalie for our great team in the All-Star, and pretty sure we won that. If you go check out the EasternHockeyLeague.org fantasy tab, all those fantasy points, ASC All-Star Classic, we earned all of them. Thank you very much. And he was a big part of it. So Logan Givens from the Connecticut Chiefs, your top prospect in net.
Yeah, and I believe he was a big help for the team too when both the E and the P Chiefs took the sweep for their showcase back in December. So that was fun to watch.
Yeah.
And as we move on to the first team EHLP, we basically have a whole team's worth of all-stars on here. A couple names we've already mentioned so far. We have Philip Parker from the Walpole Express, MVP this season, Mike Bochetto of Boston Junior Rangers, Johnny Lee from the Philadelphia Little Flyers, and on defense, Aiden Parker, Walpole Express, Chris Merriman of the Boston Junior Rangers, and in net, Cam Wickens from the Railers Hockey Club.
And that's a great sign, right? A couple of guys for Walpole. We mentioned the Parker brothers moving up to the EHL. Probably will be fixtures for Coach Holmes from next year if we had to take a guess and they return to the Walpole organization. And then going over to our second team EHLP, the reason I mentioned them, Lauren, is because at forward on second team EHLP, Evan Gravel, another guy from the Walpole Express, who are just hurting the young talent on their premier team. He finished second behind Johnny Dangerously, Anthony Apollo. That one's for you for top prospect. And then other forwards on that second team EHLP, we have Luke Denny from the Valley Junior Warriors and Connor McAleer from the Railers Hockey Club. On defense for that second team EHLP, Tate Sodden from the Connecticut Chiefs. This guy, big dude on the back end, but
big body, someone you definitely want.
Right. But then the funny thing is that we talked to all these guys at the showcases and they've told us that he's affectionately known as the baby-faced assassin. So he's one of those guys that may seem big, and he is big on the ice, and he can lay the hits. He's a physical defenseman, but baby-faced assassin. He's young, and so that's interesting. Interesting nugget there about Mr. Tate Sodden, who you'll probably see going to play for Coach Heffernan and the EHL Chiefs next year. Another guy next to Tate Sodden on the second team EHLP, that's Nicholas McKay from the Philadelphia Little Flyers. So another team that has a lot of young talent. Philadelphia Flyers, like Johnny Lee McKay, is also an 0-3, was in consideration for the top prospect and defenseman of the year, but just barely missed those. So another guy to watch out for that'll probably advance up the systems next year. And then for goaltender for second team EHLP, we have Nick Maringola from Vinny Calgeri's New Hampshire Avalanche. Second year netminder for the Avs each season. They've won the regular season, but never made it to the finals. So they're hoping this year that they can break the ice. We saw Vinny last year down in Westchester. I did. And he was real upset, real hurt about it. He enjoyed being on the bench with Chris Sorrell and Mario Martinello for Martiniello, that is, for their Avalanche finals appearance last year. But he said, I want my premier team here, Jeff. I don't want just our EHL team. I want both teams here. So I think they have a good shot at making it this year, Lauren, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, that Avs P team has been nobody to shake a stick at this season. Much like their E team, they have been pretty far up in the standings most of the season, so they've been definitely a team to watch.
Yep.
And moving on to our third team, EHLP, a couple other familiar names on here from this season. We have Max Morris of the Boston Junior Rangers. He was MVP of the EHLP All-Star game, and I believe I interviewed him during that game, which was a lot of fun. And we also have Will O'Brien of the New Jersey 87s. Special shout out to Anthony. He loves these guys.
Oh,
He's the offensive leader for the defending champion 87s, which is a big body to have out there. And Trent King from the Vermont Lumberjacks, a Jeff favorite when it comes to fantasy when we started introducing the P guys. And joining them on defense, we have Ryan Dempster of the New Hampshire Avalanche. He's another second-year Av, and he's poised to make the jump to the EHL next year. And joining him on defense is Ted Justice of the Railers Hockey Club. And in goal, we have Vincent Parent, also of the Vermont Lumberjacks, another fun name to see on there. The Lumberjacks P team is definitely quite an exciting team to watch, and they're always there supporting their E team at their games, which is a lot of fun to see. Good to see how close those guys are in that organization.
Now over to our first team North EHLP. We got forward. Here's a name that you got real used to seeing, Lauren, McAllister Ward. We got to count up how many times he was in our top plays this year. How many times do you insert? Do you know offhand how many times?
At least twice. I have posted about it a few times. Like, this kid is a human cheat code. It is ridiculous. Right. He's always doing good things with the puck.
Even twice seems low. The kid was just everywhere, and he was another guy that got called up and has some good yellow blonde lettuce that hangs out of the back of his head.
And you and I actually got to call one of his games because you and I were on the broadcast way back at the Haverhill Showcase. I think it was the last game of the showcase. He was up there because they had a couple guys out with injuries. I believe one out with a suspension, so had some space to fill, so they pulled him up. So that was kind of a fun one to be able to talk about.
Yeah, and that was against the New Hampshire Avalanche, who our next forward hails from, but from the Premier, of course. Nick Vasilyev's, my man. Because guess what? He was part of my all Yevs team when I went with Eddie Grigoryevs and Nick Vasilyevs for that 1 week in fantasy. And that's a joke that we keep slamming the horn on fantasy every week. And Nick Vasilyev's another dynamic player for the New Hampshire Avalanche Premier team that led the team in points with 40 of them. Finished just above Lane Brubaker-Egner and Connor McCowell. So a guy that is creating a lot of noise for those Avalanche and will continue that in the postseason. And Noah Ludman from the Valley Junior Warriors is the final forward from the first team North EHLP. And then onto the defense, David Hassel from the New Hampshire Avalanche, who is the captain of the Avs. He's one of your defensemen, along with Sean Hoffman, another guy like Tate Sodden. Can't teach size, big man on the back end.
6'7". Like
6'7" is the exact.
Oh,
I was just gonna. I didn't know his exact height, but wow, 6'7".
Much like Aiden Milburn of the Walpole Express, you can't miss those kids out on the ice. They are very tall.
No, can't miss them at all. And another guy you can't miss, Jared Packman. And how about the goalie cage on Jared Packman?
So good. I think it was either the Walpole or the Worcester Showcase. I got to meet him and he was just so excited to show us that. We're like, oh wow, like we're kind of laughing about his last name. And he's like, have you seen my helmet? And we're like, what? And he brought it over and we're like, this is amazing. It's completely Pac-Man themed. It is so fun to see.
It's one of the most important things that goalies, I think, they won't tell you that, I feel like most of the times, but a lot of goalies, they put a lot of time into it. You see their designs at every level, NHL, collegiate, juniors, they usually put a lot of time, and Pac-Man is one of those guys. So that's your first team North EHLP.
And moving on to our second team North EHLP, we have Francis, I believe it's Hamlin of the Vermont Lumberjacks. Joining him is Lane Brubaker-Egner from the New Hampshire Avalanche. He came on strong at the end of the year with some great goals. The New Hampshire Avalanche have been quite a powerful team, as we've mentioned. And we also have RJ Sember of the New England Wolves. He was an all-star on the white team. He was a fun one to watch out there as well. And joining them on defense, we have Emerson Mitchell of the Vermont Lumberjacks and Christian Kaladi of the Valley Junior Warriors. A couple fun names on there. And in goal, we have Nick Mutchler from the Valley Junior Warriors. He's likely to play for the EHL team next season. He was at our all-star game as well, so he's a fun one to watch, and he's also very tall for a goalie, so that's definitely a fun body to have guarding your net for sure.
So now over to the Beast in the East, Lauren, first team East EHLP, and we start off with Duncan Fleming from the Boston Junior Rangers, followed by guy down on the Cape Cod, Dylan Szabo. Key reason why the Seahawks had such a good season. This was their first year. For a lot of people, they don't realize that Coach Richard and the EHLP Seahawks, this was their first year, and they've done a really great job there down at Tony Kent Arena. Continuing with the forwards from the first team East EHLP, Lauren, Jaden Blackburn. This has been a hot topic with us in the group texts, and we do top plays every week. Well, Jaden Blackburn had probably the best non-top play of the year. Do you remember that one?
Oh yeah, that no move goal was absolutely beautiful. He's another one of those players. He's always scoring some fun goals. The regulars in themselves score a lot of goals, and they're usually pretty fun. But like he does a lot of just exciting goals, so he's definitely a good one to be on here.
So we're sorry we didn't get you in there, Jaden, for that no move top play, non-top play of the year. But he was is a second year railer that's trying to get them back to the finals too. Another guy that remembers last year that didn't leave a good taste in his mouth down in Westchester. So they're another team that's trying to get to Providence as we head to Schneider Arena this year. And continuing with the first team East, now we're going to go over to the Blue Liners. That would be Jack Powers and Jack Bowers. So did you follow me there? That's two different guys. That is Jack Powers and Jack Bowers. Jack Bowers does wear the number 24. Lauren, you're a little, younger than me. Do you know that show 24?
I don't.
I'm showing my age there. You don't? Yeah. Well, Jack Bowers is the man from 24, and we think that Jack Bowers wears 24 in honor of Jack Bowers from the show. But anywho, we're moving on, and we're going to finish off with goaltender. That is Liam's Chassé. Did I say that one correct?
Oh yeah, he is such a fun kid. He's so fun to watch in net, and he's fun to see at the showcases. I still remember Walpole Showcase. He had that shiny gold jacket on. He has sweet style. He's got that French Canadian vibe to him. He's just all around a great character.
Right. I remember a lot of the coaches looking and being like, what is that,
Oh
Jack?
yeah,
He got a lot
Anthony, I
of
believe, tweeted
compliments.
about it on Twitter. He got a good picture of him, so it was pretty fun to see that.
That's right. I remember that. So it looks like now we got to go over to our second team, East EHLP, Lauren.
Yes, and starting on that front line at forward, we have Dom Hall from the Boston Junior Rangers, Jackson Duquette from the Railers Hockey Club, and Alden Swiss from BGR. Alden Swiss, my first P pick when we started introducing them for fantasy. He was a good pickup. He's a fun kid. Got to see him a few times. He's really good. And on defense, we have Cam Janowski of the Walpole Express. He's often paired with one of our favorite guys, Mr. Aiden Parker. So this is a pretty lethal defensive pair on that team. And joining him is Sebastian Morris of the Boston Junior Rangers. He is the brother of All-Star MVP Max Morris. So that was fun to see them playing together. And in goal, we have David Myers from Boston Junior Rangers. He is undefeated in his 9 starts this season with a .97 goals against average and a .953 save percentage. Those are some solid numbers.
Unbelievable. Looks like he's trying to pull a Nathan Miller, another guy that shares the same building as him. And those numbers are very, very close. I believe Miller finished with a 1.05 goals against and a 959 save percentage. So the good goaltending looks like it's going to continue for years to come for the Boston Junior Rangers. But now we're going to move down to our first team South EHLP, Lauren, and starting off with an Anthony DePaulo favorite. That would be Jeffrey Boker. Boker was paired with Will O'Brien as the top pair this year and got a lot of points for Coach Connell McNeilis. And they were forced to be reckoned with, the Boker and O'Brien pairing. And Logan Downs from the Philadelphia Little Flyers, another forward from that first team South EHLP. And then the final forward from that team will be Michael Sinieri of the Connecticut Chiefs, top scorer for the Chiefs, and was an all-star selection, part of our first ever EHLP all-star game. Going to the defense on the first team South EHLP, we have Lucas Carney, very offensive defenseman, Lauren, had 18 points he finished with in the regular season on the back end, and was a big contributor for Coach Graziano and the New Jersey Renegades. And then next to him, we have Oliver Hertzberg. Like Sodden, will play in the EHL next year. Another solid defenseman down in Newington, Connecticut. And staying in Newington, Connecticut, the goalie for the first team South EHLP is Logan Givens of the Connecticut Chiefs. And that is your entire first team South EHLP. Now over to the second team.
Yes, and on a forward, starting off, we have Connor Weiskerger from the New Jersey Renegades. And while Carney led the Renegades on the back end, Weiskerger was definitely the leader up front, which is why he's on this team. And joining him is Alexander Haar from the New Jersey 87s and Stephen Griffin from the Philadelphia Little Flyers. And on the blue line, we have Owen Gulka from the New Jersey 87s, and he is actually the youngest player in the EHLP, born in 2005, which is fun to see. And we also have Cam Vino joining him from the New Jersey Renegades. And in goal, we have Ronnie Petrucci from the Philadelphia Little Flyers, and he's looking to help the Little Flyers get back to the Frozen Finals for the first time since the 2019 season.
And that's it, Lauren. That's all we got for this year's 2021-22 EHL Premier All-Star Awards. I'm Jefferson Mills. That's Lauren Smith. And we hope you guys enjoyed this. And we'll see you down in Providence at Schneider Arena for the Frozen Finals, everybody.